Good morning. You're listening to Culture Daily, where we cover what is new, what matters, and what nobody else is talking about. And obviously, make people cultured. I am your host Kabir Deshpande. वैसे नाम तो सुना होगा. And today, we have an extremely important and interesting case with us. Frankly, when I first read about it, it sent chills down my spine. For a country which values freedom so much, this surely hits you like a punch in the gut. Without further ado, let's enter another episode of what happens when journalists themselves become the news. No, I'm not talking about Mujhe Drugs Do by Arnab Goswami. Today, we are going to cover the Rubin Banerjee case. Let us first understand what exactly happened. On August 4th, 2025, YouTube, the famous medium for news coverage for many independent journalists, abruptly removed veteran journalist Rubin Banerjee's channel, which said, "I am Rubin speaking," with no fair explanation, nothing. With over 33,000 subscribers and a strong following in Odisha, the channel gave a platform to teachers, women's self-help groups, and rural communities. Well, the takedown cited by YouTube, and I quote, violation of circumvention policy, yet no prior warning, strike, or any clear reason was given. Multiple appeals were rejected with template replies. Ultimately, it is extremely disheartening and leaves the idea of freedom of media, of press, and of individuality in deep uncertainty. The question is, what does this mean for journalism, digital governance, and democracy? To discuss, I'm joined by four guests. The beloved journalist who covers what is happening in digital media, specifically known for covering the grey areas of digital media and its uncertain laws and policies, my dear friend Ms. Helene Kaur. Next up, Ms. Harshita Ojha, a small independent journalist who started with a dream to cover unheard stories in 2022. Now known for covering cases from all over India and have a constantly growing audience. We also have Ms. Kashvi Juneja from none other than The Wire India. And of course, the great man himself, Mr. Rubin Banerjee. Miss Helene, hi, how are you?
I'm good.
So we cover digital media and policy. Let me ask first and foremost, why does this case matter beyond our channel or one channel at the most?
Well, Kabir, the answer is simple because it shows how much unchecked power platforms like YouTube hold. The circumvention policy is vague. It's meant to prevent banned users from returning under new accounts. Let us understand first, what does it mean? To put it simply, circumventing would be to ignore or to bypass a YouTube policy, ignoring any warning, restriction or ban. However, what is interesting is Rubin had no strikes, no bans. What was he allegedly circumventing? We don't know, and YouTube won't say.
So, essentially, enforcement without explanation?
Exactly. And when appeals only get generic responses, such is the case in this. Despite a formal representation sent by the counsel, Apar Gupta, appeals have been rejected without explanation. Banerjee has claimed his channel has been permanently removed. Now, if you read the coverage on this, my God, Kabir, you'll be shocked.
Oh.
I'm absolutely baffled by how little this case has been covered in the media. Despite the Editors Guild speaking against it, nobody seems to care. It almost seems that it's, impossible to challenge the decision. This lack of transparency should concern every journalist relying on digital platforms. There will be many more Rubin Banerjees in the future. It is one's duty to cover what matters, as everyone is aware his latest piece was regarding Odisha government, and now this. It is almost scary, yet too obvious to bat a blind eye to. The irony of this, for the lack of better words, coincidence, I would say.
Well, Miss Helene, you've indeed raised the right question. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope journalists like you continue to become voices of reason.
Thanks, Kabir.
Next up, let's welcome the most beautiful Miss Harshita Ojha. Hope you're doing well, ma'am. And as I've already told my listeners about your success, let me ask you, as an independent journalist, what do you take away from this case?
So, thank you so much, Kabir, for inviting me here. As you know, Ruben's work wasn't about glamorous headlines, it was about real people.
Okay.
He reported on teachers in Odisha waiting endlessly for their salaries, also on women's self-help groups struggling for recognition, and on farmers whose stories rarely find a place in big national papers.
Interesting.
For many of us, his channel was proof that independent journalism could still thrive. That with just conviction, a camera, and internet access, you could give a voice to the voiceless. But when his YouTube channel deleted overnight without warning, it felt like the ground shifted for us. I started asking myself questions I never thought I would. Should I cover this protest in the Basti, or should I just upload that interview with a government critique? Or will my work disappear the next day too?
Oh.
That's the scariest part, Kabir. You begin censoring yourself not because you want to, but because you're scared of invisibility. And also, if a veteran like Ruben can be silenced, what chance do I have? So yes, I am scared, but also I'm determined, because if we stop telling these stories out of fear, then the silence wins. And the silence is the one thing a journalist cannot accept, in my opinion.
Oh, I definitely agree with you there. But as you're saying this, does this create a chilling effect?
Yes, it does. Journalists may hesitate to cover sensitive issues if that's a fear that a platform could erase their work overnight. Even experienced reporters start second-guessing themselves which stories to publish, and that self-censorship slowly limits what the public gets to know.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Kabir.
Let's come back with Miss Kashvi Juneja and the man himself. But let's take a 1-minute break. Welcome back, guys. So, Ms. Kashvi Juneja, you represent The Wire. How do you think the mainstream media outlets such as yours would have covered this?
Honestly, Kabir, I'm not going to sugarcoat. The coverage has been limited. Very few have probed deeper, have asked the right questions, like why the timing suddenly coincided with Ruben's sharp political commentary, or what this says about digital monopolies. Internationally as well, there's been silence. And that's no surprise, because when regional voices are silenced, the story itself risks being buried globally.
And as a mainstream media house, how would you rate your coverage on this case? What has The Wire done which is different, which can be of inspiration?
Well, Kabir, the answer is simple. We have tried to put out as many facts as possible to make people understand the stance of the right bodies such as the Editors Guild on it. In fact, if I have to elaborate on the statements by the Editors Guild of India, I can do it for you right now to give a deeper picture of the case. While they have released an official statement regarding the same on X, I'm sure you and your viewers can look it up later. Right now, to give you the gist of it, they are calling this takedown as arbitrary and opaque. They strongly urge YouTube to immediately reinstate Ruben Kahuchi and provide a clear and specific explanation for its removal. Any action against journalistic content must be preceded by prior notice, disclosure of reasons, and an opportunity for the creator to respond, which did not happen in this case. Other than that, they also stand for YouTube and other digital content platforms to also establish transparent and fair appeal mechanisms so that journalists like us are not left at the mercy of vague and unilateral decisions. Ultimately, to quote them directly, freedom of expression online is as vital as it is offline. For democracy to truly thrive, platforms like YouTube must operate with transparency, fairness, and accountability, ensuring that responsible journalism is protected, not punished.
That indeed is something people should and must be talking about. So the irony lies in, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that the press itself has underreported a press freedom story?
You're absolutely right. The silence is part of the problem. Unlike us, who have covered the facts of it, the enormity of it, along with being closely associated with Mr. Ruben Banerjee for many years, Others choose to simply ignore, and that is exactly what is scary.
Wow, that was very insightful. Thank you, Miss Kashvi.
Thank you so much, Kabir, for inviting me.
And now, Ruben Banerjee joins us. Ruben, thank you for being here. Can you walk us through what really happened?
Thanks, Kabir. So, at around 11 pm on August 4th, I found my channel terminated. No warning, no prior strike, just gone. I appealed several times, even through my lawyer, Mr. Amar Gupta, but every reply was a template email, no explanation.
And what does that mean for the voices you brought into light on your channel?
They lose visibility, teachers fighting for their salaries, women demanding dignity. These are not stories mainstream outlet prioritize. When my channel vanished, their stories vanished too.
Oh,
Ironically, this is not the first time. We have seen this happen before. Article 19, India's videos removed in 2020. Kashmiri journalists having their accounts frozen. Even international examples like Palestinian reporters whose post vanished in 2021.
I see.
Now, platform opacity snatches away freedom. It feels like a ticking bomb hanging above us. Let us see what the future holds.
Do you believe your sharper political commentary in recent weeks played a role?
I cannot prove it. Journalism is about holding power accountable. If platform punish that, it endangers democracy.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, my listeners, that's it for today. Thank you for staying and joining us. Tonight's discussion leaves us certainly with pressing questions. Why do platforms act without transparency or due process? How can independent voices be protected in a digital-first era? And is the media itself doing enough to spotlight such threats? Well, that is for you to ask yourself. To not leave any further doubts in your mind, our reporting tonight drew from verified sources such as The Wire, News Laundry, Judicial Quest, Money Life, and the Editors Guild official statements. Ultimately, journalism's duty is clear: accuracy, truth to power, empathy, and accountability. But these principles must also apply to the platforms controlling the flow of news. Where does it leave us as people of the press when such cases occur? With uncertainty and a blind eye. Let's see how the Ruben Banerjee case rolls out in the future. Until then, I'm Kabir, and this has been When Journalists Become the News. Thank you for streaming in. Keep listening, keep questioning, and never forget your voice matters.